my name is David. I'm 42 years old, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm telling you this because context matters. I'm not some character in a story. I'm a real person who lived through something that nearly broke me, and I want you to understand that what I'm about to tell you actually happened. I am not a hero. I am not a wise man. I was just a man who loved his wife and trusted her without reservation. We lived an ordinary life in a small apartment on the north side. Work, dinner, conversations before sleep. I knew her habits, her fears, the way she fell silent when something weighed on her. I knew how she took her coffee, 2 sugars, no cream, and how she always read the last page of a book first because she couldn't stand not knowing how things ended. I knew that she cried during commercials with dogs in them, and that she sang off-key in the shower every Sunday morning. I thought that was enough. I thought knowing someone meant understanding them completely. I thought that loving someone meant they would always choose you. I was wrong on all counts. I discovered the betrayal by accident. Not through her phone, though I could have looked. Not through someone else's words, though there were probably people who knew. I saw it in her eyes, a look that had never been there when she looked at me. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't love. It was escape. That's how people look when they're already halfway gone, when one foot is out the door and the other is searching for solid ground somewhere else. It happened on a Thursday evening in late October. The kind of Chicago autumn night when the wind cuts through you and the city feels both alive and lonely at the same time. We were having dinner at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared 1,000 meals before. I was telling her about something that had happened at work. I don't even remember what now. And she was looking at me, but not really seeing me. Her eyes were distant, glazed over, like she was watching a movie of her life instead of living in it. Then her phone buzzed. Just a simple notification. She glanced at it, and in that split second, her entire face changed. Her eyes lit up. A small smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. It was the kind of smile you give to possibility, to excitement, to someone who makes your heart race. And I realized, with a sick, sinking feeling in my stomach, that she had never looked at me that way. Not in years. Maybe not ever. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. Marriage makes you paranoid sometimes, doesn't it? You see distance where there's just tiredness. You see secrets where there's just a long day at work. You project your insecurities onto innocent moments and convince yourself that something is wrong when really, everything is fine. But the look persisted. And then came the small changes. The phone tilted away from me when we sat together. The sudden interest in her appearance on random Tuesday afternoons when she was just going to the grocery store. The vague answers about where she'd been, who she'd seen, what she'd done. The way she'd come home from work and immediately shower, as if she needed to wash something away. I started noticing other things too. She stopped asking about my day with any real interest. Our conversations became surface level, transactional. She'd ask if I'd picked up milk, if I'd paid the electric bill, if I remembered we had dinner at her parents' house on Saturday. But she never asked how I was feeling, what I was thinking, if I was happy. We stopped having sex. Or rather, the sex we had became mechanical, obligatory. She'd initiate sometimes, but I could tell she was somewhere else in her mind, going through the motions, fulfilling a duty. I'd lie awake afterward in our bedroom, listening to the traffic on Lakeshore Drive, feeling more alone next to her than I ever had by myself. I checked, not to trap her, not to catch her in the act. I checked to keep myself from going insane, to know if what I felt was real or if I was destroying our marriage with unfounded suspicion. I needed to know if I was the problem, if my paranoia was creating distance that didn't exist. One night in early November, while she was in the shower, I looked at her phone. I'm not proud of it. I'd never done it before in all our years together. But something in me broke that night, and I needed to know. The facts were simple, ugly, undeniable. Hundreds of messages. Intimate, playful, sexual. Messages that painted a picture of a whole other life she was living, a whole other person she was being. Messages that talked about us, and when we're together, and I can't stop thinking about you. She had been seeing someone else. A man who knew how to talk beautifully and promised nothing. Maybe that was the appeal. I was reliable. I was steady. I was the man who remembered anniversaries and fixed the leaky faucet and asked about her mother's health. He was convenient for escape. He was excitement, novelty, the thrill of doing something forbidden. I represented responsibility, routine, the weight of years together. He represented possibility, newness, the intoxicating feeling of being wanted by someone who didn't know your flaws yet. Someone who hadn't seen you at your worst, who didn't know about your student loan debt or your anxiety or the way you snored when you had a cold. I sat on the edge of our bed, her phone still in my hand, and felt everything inside me crack. Not break, not yet, just crack. Like ice on Lake Michigan when winter first arrives and the temperature starts to drop. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or throw things or demand explanations. The cruelest revenge, I learned, is silence when someone expects hysteria. I lived beside her for several more weeks. I made coffee in the mornings, just like I always had. I asked how her day went. I listened to her talk about work stress and her mother's health and the neighbor's dog that wouldn't stop barking. And I watched as she slowly drowned in her own lies. She thought I didn't know. And I wondered, was it worth telling her that I did? What would change? She'd probably deny it at first. Then, when faced with evidence, she'd cry and apologize and beg for forgiveness. We'd have the same conversation 1,000 other couples have had. It would be painful and messy and ultimately pointless because the damage was already done. There's a strange power in knowing someone's secret. You hold their world in your hands. Every kind word you speak becomes a weapon. Every normal moment becomes a performance. I wasn't trying to torture her, but I also wasn't trying to make it easier. I watched her check her phone compulsively, sometimes right in front of me. I watched her smile at messages I couldn't see, then quickly hide her screen when she remembered I was in the room. I watched her lie about working late, about dinner with a friend from college, about needing space to clear her head with a solo drive that lasted 3 hours. Each lie landed differently when I knew the truth. Each one was a small violence against what we'd built together, against every promise we'd made, against the version of our life I'd thought was real. But I also watched her grow anxious. Guilt has a way of eating at you, even when you're trying to justify what you're doing. Even when you've convinced yourself that you deserve happiness, that your needs matter, that your spouse doesn't understand you anymore. She was more irritable. She picked fights over nothing, the dishes in the sink, the way I chewed my food, my choice of movie for our Friday night tradition that she barely paid attention to anymore. She'd apologize too quickly for small things, as if trying to balance some cosmic scale I couldn't see. As if being nicer about the little things could somehow offset the massive betrayal of the big thing. Part of me wanted to explode, to flip the table during dinner and demand she tell me everything. To call him, this other man whose name I now knew, whose face I'd seen on social media, whose existence I couldn't stop thinking about. To ask what exactly he thought he was doing with my wife. To make her choose, right then and there, in the ugliest way possible. To force her hand and end the uncertainty, even if it meant ending everything. But another part of me knew that the moment I confronted her, it would all be real. As long as I said nothing, I could still pretend. I could still have coffee with her in the morning and not feel like I was sitting across from a stranger. I could still sleep in the same bed and not feel like I was lying next to someone I didn't know at all. So I stayed quiet. I went to work at my accounting firm in the Loop. I came home to our apartment. I played my role in our marriage while she played hers. And I waited. For what? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe for her to end it. Maybe for him to leave her. Maybe for the courage to leave myself. Asterisk, the turning point came not where you'd expect. The other man disappeared. Just stopped responding to her messages, stopped answering her calls. At first, she tried to hide her panic. But after a few days, it became obvious. She was checking her phone every 5 minutes, refreshing her messages like she could will a response into existence. Her hands shook when she scrolled through old messages, reading them over and over as if they might reveal some clue about where he'd gone. She'd excuse herself to the bathroom, and I'd hear her crying on the other side of the door, trying to muffle the sound with running water. I should have felt vindicated. He'd used her and thrown her away. The affair had imploded. She was getting exactly what she deserved. Karma, people would say. What goes around comes around. But I didn't feel victorious. I just felt sad. Sad for her. Sad for us. Sad that this was what our marriage had become. Me pretending not to know while she fell apart over someone who clearly didn't care about her. But then the real fallout began. She got a call from a lawyer, then another from a debt collector, then a threatening letter in the mail. Apparently, her wonderful escape artist had been using her. He'd taken money, borrowed it, he'd said, for a business opportunity that would pay off big. He'd put purchases on credit cards in her name, co-sign on something I still don't fully understand, some loan or agreement that made her legally responsible for his debts. And when the bills came due, he vanished. Phone disconnected. Social media accounts deleted. The address he'd given her turned out to be fake. He'd played her perfectly, and now she was left holding the bag. Her affair, her adventure, her little pocket of freedom from the mundane reality of our marriage had suddenly become very, very real. And very, very expensive. She broke down completely one evening in mid-December. Not the kind of crying you do when you're sad. The kind you do when you're terrified. When your world is collapsing and you don't know how to stop it. When you've made choices that seemed exciting in the moment but are now destroying your life. She told me everything. Not because she wanted to be honest. Not because she thought it was the right thing to do. Because she needed help and had nowhere else to turn. Because the consequences of her actions were too big for her to handle alone. She told me about him. About how they'd met at a conference. About how he'd made her feel special, seen, desired in a way she hadn't felt in years. About the lies. About the money. About how stupid she'd been. She begged me not to hate her. She begged me to help her figure it out. She begged me not to leave. And for the first time in weeks, she cried real tears. Not tears of loss or heartbreak over him. Tears of fear. Fear of what would happen to her. Fear of losing everything. Fear of facing the consequences alone. Asterisk, I could have destroyed her in that moment. I could have laughed. I could have walked away. I could have told her she'd made her bed and now she had to lie in it. I could have used her vulnerability to make her feel as small as I'd felt when I discovered what she'd done. I could have told her that this was justice, that she deserved every bit of suffering that was coming her way. I thought about it. God, I thought about it. I played out the scenario in my head a dozen different ways. All the things I could say to hurt her. All the ways I could twist the knife. All the satisfaction I might feel watching her realize that the person she'd relied on was walking away when she needed him most. But then I realized something. Revenge wouldn't undo what happened. It wouldn't make me feel whole again. It wouldn't erase the betrayal or restore the trust or turn back time to when our marriage was still something worth fighting for. It would just make me someone I didn't want to be. Someone bitter. Someone cruel. Someone who let another person's worst actions bring out the worst in himself. So I helped her. Not because I forgave her. Not because I wanted to save the marriage. I helped her because it was the right thing to do. Because you don't abandon someone when they're in danger, even if they betrayed you. Even if they broke your heart. Even if they made choices that showed they didn't value you the way you valued them. We spent 2 weeks dealing with lawyers, debt collectors, police reports. I paid off some of what she owed. Not all of it. I couldn't afford that. And even if I could, I'm not sure I would have. But enough to keep her from drowning completely. Enough to keep her from losing her car, her credit, her ability to function. We worked through the paperwork together, late into the night, like we were business partners handling a crisis. Which, in a way, we were. There was no affection in it. No intimacy. No tender moments where we reconnected. Just 2 people trying to clean up a mess. 2 people who shared a last name and a mortgage and a history, trying to navigate a nightmare that one of them had created. She tried to apologize multiple times. She'd start crying and saying she didn't deserve my help. That she'd ruined everything. That she understood if I hated her. That she didn't know why she'd done it. That it had seemed like nothing at first. Just harmless flirtation, and then it had spiraled into something she couldn't control. I never said I hated her. I never said I forgave her either. I just kept working through the problem. Because that's what you do when you're trying to stay human. When you're trying to be the person you want to be instead of the person your pain is pushing you to become. Asterisk, when the worst of it was over, when the immediate danger had passed and the lawyers had been paid and the payment plans had been set up, I told her I was leaving. Not with anger. Not with drama. Not with a grand speech about how she destroyed us. I just packed my things one Saturday morning. It was the day after Christmas. Snow was falling outside our window, covering Chicago in white. She watched from the doorway of our bedroom that didn't feel like ours anymore, and asked me if we could talk about it. If there was any way we could work through this. If I could find it in myself to forgive her, to give her another chance, to try to rebuild. There's nothing to talk about, I said quietly. I can't be in a place where I was betrayed and not chosen. Where I was the backup plan. Where I was the safety net you kept while you looked for something better. She started to cry again. But this time, I didn't comfort her. I didn't reach out. I just kept folding my clothes and putting them in boxes. "I'm sorry," she said through her tears. "I'm so sorry. I was stupid and selfish, and I threw away the best thing in my life for someone who didn't even care about me." "I know you are," I replied, still not looking at her. "But sorry doesn't rebuild trust. It doesn't undo what happened. It doesn't change the fact that when you had to choose, you chose him. And it doesn't make me want to stay." She asked if there was anything she could do. Anything at all. If she could prove to me that she'd changed, that she'd never do it again, that she'd spend the rest of her life making it up to me. I looked at her for a long time. This woman I'd built a life with. Who I'd trusted completely. Who I'd imagined growing old beside. Who I'd thought would be there through everything, the way I'd been there for her. And I saw in her eyes that she meant it. She really did want another chance. She really did regret what she'd done. But I also saw that she'd only come back to me because her other option had disappeared, because it had blown up in her face, because she was scared and alone and needed someone to rescue her. Not because she'd chosen me, not because she'd realized what we had was worth protecting, but because I was there and he wasn't. "No," I said finally. "There isn't anything you can do." That was the hardest decision of my life. Not helping her through the crisis. Not staying silent when I first learned about the affair. Leaving was the hardest thing I'd ever done, because part of me still loved her, or loved who I thought she was, or loved the memory of who we'd been together before everything fell apart. And leaving meant accepting that the person I'd loved might never have fully existed, or that she'd existed once but had chosen to become someone else. Someone who could lie to me. Someone who could look me in the eye every morning knowing she was living a double life. Leaving meant giving up on the future I'd imagined. The kids we'd talked about having. The house we'd planned to buy in one of the suburbs. The trips we'd wanted to take when we retired. All of it gone. Not because of distance or incompatibility or growing apart naturally, but because she'd made a choice that destroyed the foundation of everything we'd built. The months after I left were not a triumphant fresh start. They were empty and hard and lonely. They were waking up in a studio apartment in Wicker Park that wasn't home and realizing I had nowhere I needed to be. They were eating dinner alone every night and hating the silence. I wasn't strong. I was hollow. I went to work. I came home to a small apartment that didn't feel like home. I cooked meals for one and ate them in front of the TV, not really watching whatever was on, just needing the noise to fill the silence. I slept poorly, waking up multiple times a night reaching for someone who wasn't there. I second-guessed my decision constantly. Some days I wanted to call her, to ask if we could try again, to see if maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild from the ashes. To ask if she was doing okay, if she'd gotten through the financial mess, if she ever thought about me the way I thought about her. Other days I was so angry I couldn't even think her name without my chest tightening, without feeling that familiar rage bubbling up. But I didn't call. I didn't go back. I knew that rebuilding would mean carrying that betrayal with us forever. Every argument would circle back to it. Every moment of doubt would be colored by it. Every time she was late coming home or quiet about her day or checked her phone, I'd wonder. Trust, once broken that completely, doesn't just heal. It scars. And those scars ache in the cold. So instead, I learned to live with the emptiness. I started small. Routine helped. I'd wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Exercise. Shower. Make breakfast. Go to work. Come home. Make dinner. Read. Sleep. Repeat. Simple things that gave structure to the formless void my life had become. Then I started therapy. Not couples therapy. There was no couple anymore. Just therapy for me. To understand why I'd stayed silent for so long. Why I'd helped her even after what she'd done. Why I felt both justified in leaving and guilty for abandoning her when she needed help. Why I couldn't seem to move forward. The therapist helped me see that I wasn't weak for helping her. I was human. Being kind to someone who hurt you doesn't make you a doormat. It makes you decent. And that leaving wasn't cruelty. It was self-preservation. It was recognizing that some things can't be fixed, and that sometimes the healthiest choice is to walk away. She also helped me understand something crucial. Betrayal isn't always about a lack of love. Sometimes people who love you still make choices that destroy you, because their fear or their need or their selfishness becomes bigger than their love. Because they convince themselves they deserve more, or different, or better. Because they're running from something in themselves and they think another person can fix it. My wife probably did love me in her way. But when it came down to it, she didn't choose me. She chose escape. She chose the fantasy of someone new over the reality of what we'd built together. And that taught me the most important lesson. Betrayal is always about choice. Not about love or the absence of it. About choosing to put yourself first, even when it costs someone else everything. Asterisk a year and a half later, I saw her again, completely by accident. I was at a coffee shop in Logan Square, working on my laptop. She walked in with a friend, laughing at something. She looked different. Older maybe, or just tired. The kind of tired that comes from living with consequences. She saw me before I could look away, and her laughter died immediately. For a moment, we just stared at each other across the crowded coffee shop. There was so much I thought I'd want to say if I ever saw her again. So many questions. So much anger still sitting in my chest, waiting for a chance to come out. So many accusations I'd rehearsed in my head during sleepless nights. But when the moment came, I felt nothing but sadness. Not for me. For both of us. For what we'd lost and what we'd never get back. For the future that had died. For the people we'd been before everything fell apart. She excused herself from her friend and walked over. Asked if she could sit down for a minute. I said yes. "How have you been?" she asked, her voice careful, uncertain. "Better," I said honestly. "Slowly, but better." She nodded, looking down at her hands. "I'm glad. You deserve better than what I gave you. Better than how I treated you. Better than the lies and the betrayal and all of it." It wasn't an apology exactly. More like an acknowledgement. A statement of fact. "Yeah," I said simply. "I did." We talked for a few more minutes. Surface level things. How work was going. Mutual friends we'd lost touch with after the divorce. The weather. The ridiculous price of rent in the city. All the safe topics people discuss when there's too much history to address. Then she stood up to leave. Before she did, she looked at me one more time, and I saw something in her eyes. Not love, not hope, just recognition of what she'd lost, of what she'd thrown away. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for helping me when you didn't have to, for not destroying me when you could have." I think about that a lot, about how you could have made everything so much worse, but you chose not to. I nodded. "Take care of yourself," I said, and she left. I watched her walk away through the coffee shop window, and I realized something profound. I didn't want her back. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want closure or a dramatic final conversation where everything was said and resolved, and we both cried and hugged and wished each other well. I just wanted to move forward. And I had been, quietly, without even realizing it. Day by day, moment by moment, I'd been building a new life. Not a better life necessarily, just a different one. One where I wasn't constantly checking over my shoulder. One where I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. One where I could trust myself again, even if I wasn't ready to fully trust someone else. Asterisk people ask me sometimes if I regret how I handled it. If I wish I'd confronted her sooner, or left sooner, or fought harder to save the marriage. If I should have given her another chance, tried couples therapy, worked through it the way some couples do. The truth is, I don't know. Maybe if I'd handled it differently, things would have turned out better. Or maybe they would have been worse. There's no way to know. We don't get to see the alternate timelines, the roads not taken, the versions of ourselves that made different choices. What I do know is this. I'm proud that I didn't become cruel. That when I had the chance to destroy her, I chose not to. Not because she deserved my kindness, but because I deserved to keep my humanity intact. Because becoming vindictive would have hurt me more than it hurt her. Betrayal doesn't just test the person who was betrayed. It tests who you become in response to it. And I could have become bitter, vindictive, closed off. I could have let that betrayal poison every relationship I had going forward. I could have used it as an excuse to never trust again, to never be vulnerable again, to build walls so high that no one could ever hurt me again. Instead, I learned to trust again. Slowly, carefully, with boundaries I didn't have before, with awareness of red flags I'd overlooked in my marriage, with honesty about my needs and expectations. But I learned that love isn't enough, that you can love someone deeply and still need to walk away, that trust isn't automatic, it's earned, and once broken it may never be the same, that people you love can still hurt you, and that sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. I learned that silence can be more powerful than rage, that helping someone who hurt you doesn't make you weak, it makes you decent, and that the right path isn't always about saving the relationship. Sometimes it's about saving yourself, about protecting your own peace. about refusing to accept less than you deserve. Most importantly, I learned that you can survive betrayal. It doesn't kill you, even when it feels like it will. Even when you wake up at 3 a.m. and can't breathe because the pain is so overwhelming. Even when you see couples holding hands and feel that sharp stab of grief for what you lost. You wake up the next day, and the day after that, and eventually, those days start to feel less heavy, less painful, less defined by what was taken from you. You start to remember who you were before the betrayal, and slowly, carefully, you start to become someone new. Someone who knows pain but isn't destroyed by it. Someone who knows loss but can still hope for better. Someone who understands that life rarely turns out the way you planned, but that doesn't mean it can't still be good. Asterisk, I'm not the same person I was when I was married. I'm quieter in some ways. More careful, more guarded. I don't give my trust freely anymore. I don't assume that love means loyalty or that years together mean forever. I don't take relationships for granted or believe that commitment is permanent just because vows were spoken. But I'm also stronger. I know my boundaries and I enforce them. I know what I will and won't accept. I know that I can walk away from something broken instead of trying to fix it at the cost of my own well-being. I know that being alone is better than being with someone who doesn't choose you every day. And I know that even in my darkest moments, I chose to be kind. I chose to be decent. I chose not to let someone else's weakness turn me into someone I wouldn't recognize. I chose to help even when it hurt. I chose to leave even when it was terrifying. I chose myself. That's not heroic. It's just human. But in a world where betrayal can make you bitter and cruel and closed off, where pain can turn you into the very thing that hurt you, being human is enough. It has to be. I'm 42 years old now. I live alone in a small apartment in Wicker Park. I work as an accountant. I have coffee every morning at the same shop. I go to therapy every other week. I see my friends when I can. I date occasionally, carefully. My life isn't what I thought it would be, but it's mine. And for the first time in a long time, that's enough.